Hello fellow Massive friends. Today I wanted to make a video about making ambient music with Massive. I think ambient has become quite popular, but a lot of people don't really know how to go about it. You don't need tons of gear or huge modular synthesizers. You can actually do this quite easily in something like Massive. So yesterday I made a patch here, or a preset, and I saved it. And I'm just gonna play the root note and the fifth on my keyboard and hold it for a while and let you hear what's gonna happen. I really like this patch. It took me about 30 minutes to make yesterday, but I think I spent 10 minutes just sitting there and listening to it, holding that fifth chord. I'll explain this preset to you, but I just decided I think I'll make a making of scratch video for how to make ambient. So look forward to that video and subscribe if you haven't. Anyway, what is ambient? Ambient, I think, in a few words, can be called pretty much the same, but slightly different over time. And what do we use if we want to change something over time? That's right, LFOs. LFOs are great for this. Massive has 4. What most people don't realize is that you can do much more than just take an LFO, put it on a filter, have it go up and down, and be done with it. First of all, Massive has all of these really cool waveforms that you can choose from. There's this thing and this one and this one and this thing and this and I don't know, tons of stuff. So if you really use all of these and also maybe combine them with the X fader curve, then you get the craziest waveforms. And this is really cool because it gives you a kind of unpredictability. If you just use a sine wave and have it go up and down and up and down and up and down, then you can follow that curve with your ears and you know exactly where it is right now, what's going to happen next. And that's actually not what you want in ambient. It's not supposed to be something that you anticipate. It's just supposed to sound nice. So let's maybe go through this. Yeah, so that's how it starts. That's how pretty much every new Massive patch starts. It's boring, click, 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 click. It comes immediately and it goes away immediately. So what I did is push the attack way up. And for those of you who don't know this, we have 4 envelopes and 4 LFOs, and they seem to be the same. But envelope 4 is coupled to the amplifier. So this determines the contour of the volume. And because it's ambient, we want a slow start and we want a slow release. So we push those way up. That's already a bit nicer. The next step would be adding tons of delay and tons of reverb. Already nice. So again, since it's ambient, we want slow changes over time. So having 2 different filters doing 2 different things that will both go into the delay and into the reverb will give you a pretty lush result. So as you can see, I put LFOs on both of these filters. On this one I put 2 just to give it more variation. Because one of this waveform is pretty boring. This has a bit more snack to it. So that just jumbles this one up a little bit. So, but now the one step that makes this not just a pad, but a generative ambient generator, if you will, is having cross modulation. And what does that mean? The first order modulation is having one source or one low frequency oscillator move a different parameter. But we can go so much further than this, because in these LFOs we have these rate and amp controls. So the rate is self-explanatory. That just means how fast it's going. That would be and the amplifier means how much of the modulation is actually being applied. So in here you see LFO 7 goes from, oh, it's this down here, it goes from this negative value to this positive value in the amount. So it starts here and ends here, being mixed with this one below, of course. But if I turn down the amp knob, it's like the range of modulation is just being decreased until it's at 0. So if we modulate the modulators, meaning the rate of LFO 5 being changed by LFO 6, whose amp is again being changed by LFO 8, whose rate and amp is being changed by LFO 5, is we have all these parameters, modulators actually, changing things in the patch and themselves. So take LFO 8 for example. It's just right now it's a normal sine wave. Even though it's going slow, after a while you would be able to hear the speed of this LFO. It will go up and down and up and down and up and down. You could kind of anticipate it. But if I change the rate and the amp of this LFO, then first of all, it means it will be going at different speeds over time. So it will speed up, slow down, and it won't always do its thing. So sometimes it will be doing it, and sometimes it won't be doing it. And this is pretty much the key when doing cross modulation. Okay, so to demonstrate how all of these LFOs are actually changing the sound, I've turned all of them off. I've also turned the cross modulation off, and I'm gonna turn them on back one by one. So first thing I did was find an oscillator with a waveform that I liked, which had a lot of variation in it, and put the first LFO on it, which is this one, which already has a kind of a funky waveform, and it sounds like this. So in itself, not bad. But I'd like a bit more to happen. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get bored of this after a while. So just put another LFO on there. Why not? Can't hurt. The next thing was putting an LFO on the filter, which I did right here. And that's nothing special yet. It's this is a pretty normal filter. It just goes up and down. But the thing about this one is it's a mixture between a sine wave and a sawdown, so it goes up and down a bit, but it also has these moments here and there where it goes plong, plong, and that's just really nice because that changes a steady sound from. It gives it a feeling that there are more things involved, so it's not just one instrument playing a drone, but maybe also some other instruments playing these plonks. The next thing I did was adding a second filter and also modulating that. With this one I wanted something a bit more crazy because I have such a steady thing going in filter 1. I wanted some wonkiness in filter 2. That's why I chose this waveform. If it goes really fast, then it's just a bit too much. But having it go really slow gives it well, you know. Okay, next step is I added these polysaw waveforms, which are really great. I love these because they have just so much information in them, and they also have different tones in them. So just by changing the waveform, you'll hear different. So sometimes it's root, sometimes it's the third, sometimes the fifth, maybe even the seventh. I haven't listened to it that closely, but that makes it seem like even more is going on. So even more instruments join the ensemble. Okay, next step was adding some noise. Just because some noise here and there is a great filler. Because noise has all the frequencies in the frequency spectrum, sending it through a filter or just through a delay and reverb is a really great way of filling up something if it doesn't have enough mass. And then lastly, I added this sample and hold plugin, which gives a sound a kind of, a little bit robotic, glitchy, a little bit unclean kind of sound. But I didn't want this always. So again, I put an LFO on both of these so that we would be hearing them sometimes, but not the same one, different ones. So they would never be doing the same. And that sounds like this. Hear that in the high, that sparkle? That's this insert. And then the last step was doing the cross modulation. So I'm gonna turn all of these back on, which is this one, this one, this one, and these. And then it sounds like this. It's subtle changes, but that's what I was going for. I wasn't going for something crazy. You're never gonna know what's gonna happen next, which you could easily by just going freaking crazy with the modulation amount. Let's just see what's gonna happen. I don't know. It's a bit too much for my taste, so let me get back the original. And one thing I forgot is every time you start a new patch in Massive, you get this pre-configured vibrato control, which if you look in the oscillator section, it simultaneously changes the rate and the depth of the vibrato, meaning it affects the pitch of all oscillators by how fast and how much. I also exchanged those with the LFOs, which again is just another way of bringing change over time into the patch. Because sometimes there will be vibrato, sometimes not, sometimes there will be sparkle, sometimes there won't. Sometimes there will be second voice, sometimes there won't, sometimes there'll be plonk, sometimes it's just going to be a steady tone. So by just using 4 LFOs, I've brought so much variation into a pretty normal patch. And this is just scratching the surface, because you see this right here, this is sidechaining the modulation by another modulation. And I could even add another slot on here and have it do something totally freaking crazy. I haven't even put any LFOs on the resonance, which I could do. And here the intensity and the loudness of each oscillator. I haven't done that. I haven't used the modulation oscillator, so it's actually a pretty basic patch in a way. But yeah, that would be my way of going about making ambient sounds with Massive, and I really love this sound, and I think I'm gonna make another video with it. Anyway, I hoped you enjoyed this tutorial. I will be doing the making an ambient sound from scratch soon, and if you're interested in that, I'd love to have you subscribe. I will be doing lots more tutorials in the future about Massive and other synthesizers. And that's all for now. See you soon. Bye.